What's up, y'all, and welcome to the Lawrence Report. Tonight's broadcast discussing the new Netflix summer smash series. I'm talking about SupaCell, and I have a confession to make. I actually binge watched the show way back this past Sunday, but I was so busy. But I still see that people are still talking about SupaCell on Facebook and Twitter. So I said to myself, I have to get my thoughts out and share with y'all what I think about this incredible new series that we have on Netflix. SupaCell, y'all. This series is so good. So I already need Ratman, Netflix, strong black lead. I need everybody that's over at Netflix to get the ball rolling on season 2. We need season 2 pronto. This series was absolutely amazing. SupaCell. Like I said, I'm ready. I'm already ready for season 2. But before we get started, it'd be greatly appreciated if you guys hit that subscribe button, like, and please don't forget to comment. Now, this show right here is directed by Ratman, and we see these 5 black Southern Londoners. They're from London, right? But they have these abilities. They have these powers. I'm talking about super speed, strength, visibility, and so much more, right? But they all are bound by the sickle cell trait, basically, right? But it is a mutated version of the trait, which is called SupaCell, right? So I'm going to share the 5 heroes that we have in the show, right? But I'm going to compare and contrast them to some other Marvel and DC type style characters. So let's take a dive into SupaCell. So in SupaCell, we end up meeting Michael, right? He's basically the ringleader of this entire situation. It is up to him to band together these 5 heroes that can help save the woman that he loves. You know, he's basically transported to the future to see that the woman he loved, Dion, is unfortunately dead, right? But if he can get these heroes together, hopefully that can be prevented. But unfortunately, as we already know in the show, it doesn't get prevented, right? And Michael, you know, his powers are able to basically bend space and time, right? So when I thought about Michael powers, it kind of reminded me of Bishop and Doctor Strange. That's what I thought of. There's other heroes as well, but that's who I thought of. And we ended up meeting Tazar. I couldn't stand Tazar. I'm sorry. I know he's going through a lot right now. He's basically in this gang called the Tower Boys Gang, and you know, his mother's not there. Grandma is like on death's bed. It's just not a good look for him. And he basically turned to a villain, to evil, right? His powers include invisibility. And one of the heroes that I am reminded of when I think about invisibility is automatically Sue Storm of the Fantastic Four. Later on, we end up meeting Andre. Now, Andre, you know, his powers are basically superhuman strength, right? And he is trying to prevent his son at the same time from not becoming the way he did. You know, when it comes to drugs and selling drugs and doing things in nature, he's trying to also land a solid job, but he runs into trouble as well. His powers remind me of a combination, basically, of, I guess you could say, Superman and Hulk when it comes to the super strength ability. Later, we end up meeting Rodney. Rodney powers is basically a combination of the Flash because he has super speed, and Wolverine because he has a healing factor just like Wolverine, right? But for Rodney, he's dealing with, you know, his mother, dealing with some racist stepfather, I believe, and that was just all around bad for him. Later, we ended up meeting Sabrina, which I thought her powers was very dope. She's telekinetic, right? Telekinesis, right? So I thought about Martian Manhunter for her, right? She's basically, you know, being able to move things with her mind, almost like Jean Grey also from X-Men. And we end up meeting the big bad himself. I'm talking about Crazy. Now, Crazy, you know, it turns out that his powers, he kind of reminds me of this DC villain by the name of Parasite, right? Because he's able to absorb your power just by touching you, right? So that's my thoughts on Crazy. I couldn't stand him either. Absolutely hated him, but we see that he eventually comes to a timely death because he's also surrounded by these hooded figures, right? They are a part of this whole gang that is basically trying to stop Michael and his partners, basically, right? Of course, we know that this entire, organization that these heroes are basically being trapped and watched by is headed by a guy by the name of Ray and his partner in crime, Victoria. But they're using Crazy. They allow Crazy basically to go into the streets to sell the drugs, and he is basically the big villain. But there's also people with brains behind the operation, right? So we know that Crazy ends up killing, unfortunately, Michael's girlfriend, and because of Crazy not doing the duties that he's supposed to do, he ends up dying himself back at the facility, right? So that was basically the ending. But we forgot to mention this right here. Now that we know that Michael girl doesn't end up making it, and he ends up saying, I'm going to go figure out who's behind this entire thing. So he basically transports to the future, and he's trying to prevent and stop this thing from happening even further. So we made up see him going through multiple timelines, maybe possibly trying to stop and figure out who's behind the brains of the operation, right? Like I said, we think that, well, we know that is Ray and Victoria, but is it somebody else even higher than them? So this brother Michael is on a mission to stop this thing from going any further. So SupaCell, great series. Be sure to check it out if you have not, and don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you for tuning into the Lawrence Report.